fast starting team under Kevin Sumlin, but so have the Rebels. One of the special spots in the sport. And the crowd has never been bigger or louder than right now. At the goal line, it's Jalen Walton, the hero of the Alabama game. And the return man has a crease. Brought down at the 40-yard line. And the Rebels offense will have good field position. Bo Wallace, heroic, carried off the field after a couple of late touchdown passes last week to beat Bama.
Bo, as we all heard last week, had a lot of pressure on him and really stepped up in a big way. Played, I thought, with outstanding poise throughout the entire game, Chris, especially in that fourth quarter when Ole Miss needed the big plays and needed to kind of have opportunities to make plays against that Bama defense. He delivered. Let's see how he does here early on the road.
Consistency, game in, game out, has not always been a hallmark in the career of Wallace. He's had an interesting journey that we'll detail. Communication will be an issue for this offense. They hand it off, and this is Jalen Walton running left, and a nice gain into Aggie territory in the first play for Ole Miss.
Ole Miss wants to run the football. They want to take the pressure, much like A&M wants to do on Kenny Hill. They need to run the ball to set up their play-action pass. You'll see them run in the middle, but they love the perimeter running game with the backs and with receivers.
And just like the Aggies, they will play at a high tempo. Wallace keeps it and dives down for no gain. Julian Obioha got him. We may see some more quarterback runs tonight. Not usually a big part of the repertoire.
No, but last week he had 11 carries against Alabama. And I think Hugh Freeze understands that when a team decides to play and they're going to stop the passing game, then they've got to run the ball not just with Mathers and Walton, but Bo Wallace has to be included to give them numbers to their advantage in that box area at the line of scrimmage.
When they hand it off, inside again, and the Aggie run defense rises up at the 45. It'll set up 3rd and long.
Mark Snyder told us that he's trying to defend this offense with 3 down linemen. He feels that he can get physical with the 3 down linemen and win that battle, that he can take away and negate the inside running game, and it allows him to stay safe with 2 safeties deep against the pass game.
They're converting 3rd downs at 51%. That's excellent. But again, this is the first time in a hostile stadium. Big Jeremy Liggins, the 300-pounder, is in the backfield as a blocker. Wallace spinning away. Cannot escape. Myles Garrett, the true freshman pass rush specialist, got him.
This guy has just, to me, in the first month and a half, you always want to talk about offensive players. Myles Garrett is a true freshman. He's on the defense's right side, the offense's left side, and he's split Aaron Morris, the left guard, and Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle, who's one of the best in the country, with determination and speed there on 3rd down.
Will Gleason, the Aussie lefty, is in the punt. It's a low kick, bouncing. And this is why teams rarely return punts against Ole Miss. Rolls dead inside the 15-yard line, so not good field position for Kenny Hill, the sophomore from Southlake, Texas, the fine high school program, looking for a bounce-back performance tonight.
Remember last week in the opening drive against Mississippi State, things looked great. They went right down the field, 6 plays, touchdown, and it looked like, okay, another night for Kenny Hill in this offense. And after that, the game got away from them a bit, and they lost their rhythm. Tonight, they're going to try to reestablish that rhythm again with the running game and to get Kenny Hill with the opportunity to throw the football to these receivers in some one-on-one coverage.
It's Brandon Williams in the pistol formation behind Hill, and he's got it. Ole Miss, a very speedy defense made up of some scrappy guys. Not all of them are 4- and 5-star prospects.
Not at all, but they are experienced. They really know what they're doing. Dave Womack, the defensive coordinator, has a good feel for what their strengths and weaknesses are, and he puts them in a position to have success. Remember, they're playing this first half without Trey Elston, number 7, their starting safety, and a veteran.
He was suspended by Freeze for the first half. He'll be back after halftime. Hill, first throw of the night, delivers in traffic, and it's a throw short of the first down to the tight end Cameron Clear, the senior. It'll set up 3rd and short.
This A&M offense is moving a lot of their personnel around. They want to run the ball. You're going to see Speedy Noyle tonight involved in a lot of different areas in this package too.
You need about 1.5 yards. And it's Williams behind Hill. Keeper, he's dropped for a loss. Ole Miss flying through is Byron Bennett, the senior nose tackle. So each defense off to a great start.
Yeah, they slanted and angled that way. And what I thought was interesting is Texas A&M saw it because of the dummy count, but Ole Miss is just slanting towards the boundary into the line of scrimmage. Really a tough block for Jarvis Harrison and Mike Matthews up front because of Ole Miss attacking towards the boundary. Great call by the coordinator.
Drew Kaiser is the excellent punter for the Aggies, and a fair catch made by the true freshman Marcel Pack for the Rebels at the 31-yard line. So these two high-powered offenses, but so far the defense is rising up to force punts. It's a rainy morning giving way to a pleasant evening here in College Station. Temperatures in the high 60s for this SEC West showdown. Second possession for Ole Miss, 3 runs and a sack the first time Bo Wallace and company had the ball. It's a reverse. They flip it around, and this is Cody Core, the slot receiver, who gets a first down. So again, a successful running play. We'll see lots of this kind of stuff, I think, from Ole Miss tonight, Kirk.
And it's a really good call by Hugh Freeze because you're on the road, the crowd's into it, it's a defense, it's fast flowing, it's a great look at it right there. So what do you do to try to slow them down? Counters, misdirection, and reverses going back the other way. And a pretty good open field tackle there by Everett.
Core is a 6'3" slot receiver from Auburn, Alabama. Latavius Mathers is now the back. All the Ole Miss backs are from the state of Tennessee, and they'll rotate frequently. But it's Wallace. First throw of the night, delivers far side, and the receiver was running down the field. Miscommunication with Laquan Treadwell. Everett on the cover.
When they leave Laquan Treadwell into the boundary by himself with one defensive back, Bo Garrett has the freedom and the flexibility to go to Treadwell. They're as confident in him as any receiver they have, and they feel that when he's isolated one-on-one, no matter who it is in the entire SEC, Bo Wallace has Hugh Freeze's freedom to say, hey, go after that throw.
There's a second down throw in the backfield. Treadwell, the strong receiver from the Chicago area, muscling into Aggie territory. Not the fastest guy, but he's got huge hands and he's very, very powerful.
And again, that's why Bo Wallace wants to be able to make that throw. What's impressive about Treadwell is his instincts as a wide receiver. He's got the size at about 230 pounds. How about the effort by Tunsil, the left tackle, the tight end Ingram, some great blocks downfield, but also a feel there, and they got away with a face mask.
Yeah, they sure did. As it is first down, Wallace on play action, takes a shot over the middle, has a man wide open. Attaboyjo down inside the 5-yard line. First and goal for Ole Miss.
And they run the football, and they'll come back and give you the same action with their play action look.
Rebels are playing very fast. Mathers to the right of Wallace. Quarterback keeper on the edge, diving for the end zone just like that. Ole Miss strikes first.
What a drive by Ole Miss on their second series here in Kyle Field. There's no hangover at all after that victory last week. Ole Miss is here to play football. They got A&M's defense on his heels, and right after the big play, they come right back where Bo Wallace keeps the ball, and he extends across that goal line. They may take a peek at that, but to me, I think before his knee touched, the ball had broken the plane.
Hugh Freeze making a change at kicker. The true freshman from Memphis, Gary Wunderlich, who made the 46-yarder against Alabama, replacing Andrew Fletcher, who didn't make the trip. So Wallace firing. Little trickery from Freeze's offense, and it's the Rebels on the road up by a touchdown.
Because if we go back to the big play in the passing game that really set up the touchdown, you keep an eye on these linebackers right here. Remember, Ole Miss started to run the football. They started to run the football, and right there, they're out of position. They're coming up to be able to try to help against Mathers. And look at these guys right here. They're trying to get caught up, and look behind them. Look at the opening. So the balance of Ole Miss running the football to set up the pass, and then the hurry-up snap by Bo Wallace. He gets a nice block by Ingram to spring him into the end zone.
Aggies are thin at linebacker, Kirk, and that's not the strength of this defense for sure. A 5-play, 69-yard touchdown drive in 1:25. Wonderlic booting into the wind, and a chance for Speedy Noyle, the true freshman returner. Hit hard across the 25-yard line, and the second possession for the Aggies, who are not used to being behind early. Tomorrow morning, get your NFL Sunday started off on the right foot. 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. Sunday NFL Countdown presented by Snickers, Chris Berman and the gang. And then before you set your lineups, catch Fantasy Football Now presented by Papa John's, 11 a.m. on ESPN2. Experts to give you the edge before you set your teams. 29 out of 32 games at A&M. The Aggies have scored first under Sumlin, but they find themselves down a touchdown. It's Williams in the pistol, and he's got it running left. Rebels defense gets there in a hurry, don't they?
Well, they do, and I think it's because 9 of these guys started last year, and one of the guys, Mike Hilton, number 28, who's a corner starting normally in this defense, has moved to the rover spot for Elston in this first half. He's kind of really a great example of how these guys move around and can play a lot of different positions.
It's Noyle in motion. They'll throw it to him. It's a lateral. He's got a couple blockers, cuts it back, and again, Ole Miss closes down so quickly. Mike Hilton, the corner, combining with Bryant, it'll be third down.
Well, their strength is they don't allow you to make a lot of plays after you catch the football. They lead the SEC in allowing the fewest yards after the catch, and what's ironic is that's one of the great strengths of Texas A&M. So it's good against good, and here early, you got to give an advantage to Ole Miss and that speed of that secondary and the linebackers.
How many yards can the Aggie receivers get after the catch? You're exactly right, Kirk. It's a big part to decide the outcome tonight. They need 4. Hill, a flip to the far side. Fighting near the marker is Josh Reynolds, and he will get a first down.
Well, they're fighting for every single yard, and what you and I are seeing and people at home are seeing is a defense that makes decisions quickly. Even with soft coverage from their corners, they don't hesitate. They make their minds up, and they close on the football quickly.
It's Trey Carson back in the game. He's got the ball, and again, penetration, but a nice cutback and a good first down gain for the Aggies to the 44.
You know, when you attack the line of scrimmage, and they are violent at the line of scrimmage, and you have linebackers and safeties that are trying to penetrate, a running back like Trey Carson, if he can make a guy miss, there's some room there to maneuver after you make that initial surge if you can get around it.
It's a nice cut for a 235-pounder. You can see the quick feet. A flag comes in after a short gain.
Like a hold there by Jarvis Harrison, the left guard.
Matt Moore is our referee.
Holding, 51, offense, 10-yard penalty, second down.
Harrison, a senior who's missed 4 games with injury.
And every offense hates miscues and mistakes, but these type of offenses, the up-tempo, the rhythmic offenses, it affects what they're trying to do when they try to get into sync. And it really impacted them a week ago when they went to Starkville, and that's what they're trying to avoid tonight. Holding penalties, offsides, poor decisions.
On 2nd and 15, 3 receivers to the left. This is Noyle coming back on a screen, hammered hard to the ground. A short gain. Kimdichie, the defensive tackle, planting the receiver in the turf.
And Kimdichie is 295 pounds and a defensive tackle, and there he looked like a linebacker. Watch him in the middle, and then watch him come off of the football and come from the inside out. I mean, he's 295 pounds, but he runs like he's 240 pounds.
It's a strong man. 3rd and 12. They flip it short. Catch made by Williams. He cannot get free. And the Aggies, short of a first down, will send out the punt team. And welcome to Kyle Field. Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit. 107,000, largest crowd in the history of the state of Texas. They watched the Rebels come on the road and score an early touchdown to lead 7-0. A&M's second possession ending in a punt, which will be down at the 1-yard line. Rebels' second possession, Kirk, they went 69 yards in 5 plays, took just 1:25. Some nice throws, setting up a Bo Wallace touchdown run.
Yeah, they made some nice throws. They had great balance. This is a big play that allowed them to move the ball right down inside the 5-yard line. And right after that, they hurried up to the ball, and Bo Wallace went right into the end zone. And there was a second series of the game, and the first time they did a good job of getting A&M on their heels.
Well, Hugh Freeze told us we may lose this game, but it won't be because of a hangover with the emotional victory over Alabama. He felt his team was mature and grounded and hungry for more. Off to a good start here.
Yeah, I think coming into this environment and being questioned to see how they might handle the success against Alabama has them right now early playing with laser focus on both sides of the football.
This huge crowd up, waving the towels, trying to make it tough on that Rebels offense. A short handoff to Jalen Walton, the man who caught the game-winning touchdown pass in the final couple minutes against Alabama. He's got a first down.
And Sean Washington, the linebacker, who's a backup, but because of his athletic ability, they give him more and more of an opportunity to play. He just busted. That's how small a thing it could be for a linebacker. You shoot into the wrong gap, and all of a sudden there's a big crease, and it's a first down.
Sign of confidence for Freeze. They won the toss in all this noise, this hostile environment. First time in a true road game all year. Says, we'll take the ball. He believes in his quarterback and his offense. Play action. Wallace steps up, fires across the middle, has a man wide open. The catch is made by Evan Ingram. Kind of the H-back, who's a tough matchup for defenses.
He is, Chris. They flexed him out last week against Alabama. How about the protection for Bo Wallace? A little kind of a flash of a ball fake. The linebackers get lost in coverage. They're looking into the eye of the quarterback, and they're not keeping their head on a swivel, looking for the crossing route that might be coming in from behind them.
Wallace 3 for 4 for 70 yards so far. Very quickly moving 29 yards out to the 30-yard line. This is Walton. Makes a man miss on the corner, and a nice first down gain. The Rebels are running well wide early.
They're getting to the outside, and the reason that's so important is not just to pick up yards, but it sets up everything for Bo Wallace because it's getting the attention of the defense, of the linebackers and the secondary. And when they start to have success 7 and 8 yards running the ball wide, they're going to go right back to a very similar look where Bo Wallace will pull it out, and he's going to look for receivers behind.
Cross sweep on second and short. And this little guy, Jalen Walton, 5'8", $166, squirts free for a first down.
I'm telling you, when you play Ole Miss, you better strap on your chin strap and be able to match their determination and attitude. Great blocks on the outside. He's following the big left tackle, Tunsil, who he's kind of pushing in the back to try to get yards, but he's breaking arm tackles too. That was an area that hurt Texas A&M last week when they went to Starkville, as they had a lot of missed tackles.
The first down throw from Wallace, far side, complete. And this is the strong receiver, Laquan Treadwell. 27 catches so far this season. They get 11 more.
And they're picking on the defense's right side, the offense's left side, getting the ball out there. It's about the third time we've seen Treadwell get the ball into his hands, and great blocking downfield by other receivers, linemen hustling 10 and 15 yards downfield. This is an offense was backed up just a few plays ago inside their own 1-yard line, and now you blink your eye and they're in A&M territory.
Kirk, they've run 14 plays. Half of them, 7, have gone for 10+ yards. Another throw far side. When they see single coverage, they want to get the ball out quickly to Treadwell. He is so physical, so strong.
Yeah, as soon as they see it, they're going to try to get to him. And, you know, even this time with the safety hanging around behind the corner, Everett, they still go, it's an easy throw with soft coverage. Why not just take 5 yards the easy way? Snap, throw to Treadwell, 5 yards. Instead of having to always run for it, it's pitch and catch for Bo Wallace, throwing it out there to Treadwell.
A milestone for the sophomore, already his 100th career catch. Mathers in the backfield on 2nd and 5. Wallace with a keeper. Has a little crease, and Bo Wallace spinning inside the 30. Early on, we're seeing quarterback runs play a part.
We sure are, Chris. And what we're also seeing is when Bo Wallace runs the football, it gives the defense nightmares because they have to add an extra defender down. This time, Justin Bell, the right guard, the big fella, led his way around, picks up a nice block right there on the linebacker, Washington, and it frees up Bo Wallace, who does a good job getting into traffic and immediately on the football.
How about old number 68, 352-pound guard with some good feet.
Big fella's taking a breather.
Well, that's why he's tired. He was so quick downfield. On first down, Wallace fires across the middle, has a man wide open, first and goal. Cody Core out of the slot down to the 10-yard line.
Again, they run the football, and then they come back with play action. They're going to now go hurry up. Very similar to their last touchdown drive where they get a big pass play. They come right back with a quick play. 9th
play of this drive, first and goal. Wallace again, the keeper, just like the first touchdown run. The Rebels, 99 yards in Kyle Field to go up 2 touchdowns. Two very similar touchdown runs, Kirk.
Very similar to the last drive as they hit a big pass play. They went right to the line. Bo Wallace, same action, zone read, decided to be able to pull that football, and shows you that he's got enough speed to be able to get to the corner and into the end zone, and once again picked up a nice block from Evan Ingram.
This is Wonderlick, who banks the extra point off the upright. The freshman kicker stepping in as the starter tonight, a little bit lucky. 9 plays, 99 yards, and Bo Wallace with a pair of touchdown runs. The Rebels are rolling right now in College Station. Some of the Ole Miss faithful have made the trip to brave this hostile environment. This is a crowd that was electric about 15 minutes ago, but now the Aggies are down a couple touchdowns. They got a sack of Wallace to stop the Rebels on their first possession, but since then 2 exquisite touchdown drives by the Ole Miss offense.
Yeah, Bo Wallace 4 for 4 on that last drive, throwing in 2 carries for 22 yards and a touchdown.
Wonderlick with a short kick, and it's Speedy Noyle at the 5. Straight ahead, but hit hard by the Ole Miss coverage team. Marquise Haynes made the tackle. And Kenny Hill and the Aggies back to work in a deep hole on their home field right now. Rebels trying to join their arch rivals atop the SEC West standings. A high decibel beatdown by the Bulldogs of Auburn in rainy Starkville today. Alabama blocking an Arkansas PAT en route to a 1-point road victory. The Aggies visiting Alabama next week. There's Jake Spavital there, the offensive coordinator.
He's trying to rally the troops after last week. They wanted to get off to a good start. Now they're down 14 at home.
So first down throw, they flip it in the flat to Trey Williams. Sidesteps a tackler, nice moves out to the 30. First down, gain of about 6.
They're trying to, again, create some rhythm, trying to get this football out. Here's a nice jump cut, which is what Trey Williams is known for, the junior, low center of gravity, 5'8", about 200 pounds.
Final minute and a half of the opening quarter. On 2nd and 4, another handoff here, and Williams fighting forward. It'll be 3rd and short.
We saw Jake Spavital addressing that offense. And one thing I think is important is this is a long football game. A minute to go here in this first quarter. Very important. They thought they needed to run the football. Last week, I think they panicked. They got away from their game plan when they got down on the road. I think they need to be balanced, and they still need to be able to run that football.
They need 3 on 3rd down, and Hill's going to throw it, or try to. Scrambles 3, and you see the wheels of Hill. He has to really work hard, lowers the head. Christian Russell stopped him, but it's a first down.
Well, that's great coverage by Ole Miss downfield, and a great job by Kenny Hill for a freshman, with this game potentially starting to get away from Texas A&M of just trying to keep the play alive, eyes downfield, and eventually just lowers his shoulder and picks up the first down.
Like lots of tempo offenses, once they move the 6 the first time, they can play even faster. Williams nowhere to go, and he's cut down. Flying in there was Hilton, the corner.
Oh boy, Mike Hilton right now, he's a corner who, Chris, as you talked about, you and I both, Trey Elson out in the first half, so he has to play Rover. How's this for playing Rover? You want to move me over to Rover? I have no problem coming up and run support. In fact, he leads Ole Miss in tackles. Dave Womack says he's played everywhere. He's played our Husky, which is our nickelback. He's played corner. He's played safety. If they have a problem, they move him around.
At 5'9", 182, he is not afraid to come up there and aggressively support in the run. Two very impressive first quarter touchdown drives by Bo Wallace and the Rebels. End of the first quarter in Kyle Field, 14-0 Rebels. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. The proud fighting Texas Aggie band a little bit surprised and deflated at the moment. Their team down 14-0 as we begin the second quarter. There's Malcolm Kennedy. He's the leader, the leading receiver on this team. Once again, with a shoulder injury, Kirk not able to go so far tonight.
Yeah, and they missed him last week against Mississippi State.
Without him, the young core was a little bit rattled and lost on the road. Hill chased, escapes, and now flips it across the middle. Speedy Noyle makes the catch at the 45, near the marker. Marquise Haynes, the true freshman, was chasing the quarterback, but he shows his elusiveness.
And that's a great job by Kenny Hill, being able to keep this play alive, and again keeping his eyes downfield. But how about the true freshman Speedy Noyle doing a good job of working and finding that open space, just enough space there on the sideline to pick up some yards to set up a very makeable 3rd and 1.
Brandon Williams in the pistol. Need about a foot to get a first down. It's already the 5th 3rd down play for A&M tonight. Williams takes the handoff, hammers straight ahead. A short game, but it will move the sticks.
They get the first down, and a lot of it had to do with Kenny Hill gripping that football, but Speedy Noyle calling for the ball, working up against that veteran Ole Miss secondary, and that's a great job by the true freshman to connect eyes with the young quarterback.
A nice fingertips catch. Hill, the first down throw near side, and the catch is made by Cameron Clear, the tight end, who's fighting through a high ankle sprain, finally healthy. They expect to involve him a lot tonight if they can.
They want to. They want to be able to, again, run the football and get this big fella, Cameron Clear, at 6'6", 277 pounds. Try to get him involved in a running game where he can be a great dominating blocker, but also, as you see, makes a tough matchup for linebackers and safeties.
And up inside, Trey Williams moves the sticks. That first quarter, Kirk, just the second quarter all season in which the Aggies failed to score. They've been 23 out of 24 coming into this game.
Yeah, and I think Kevin Sumlin would tell you that he's been very proud of the effort of this offense. A lot of new faces, especially at quarterback, but they've been able to get into that rhythm that this offense typically has. But the Arkansas game, they had some struggles last week, and then, of course, here in this first quarter tonight.
Trey Carson running left, strung out and dropped right at the line of scrimmage. Meanwhile, Ole Miss, a very fast starting team, 55-3 is their first quarter edge all season long.
Well, they've only allowed 3 touchdown drives the entire season as a defense. Again, that's 66 drives they've faced, and they've allowed 3 touchdown drives. So it's the veteran understanding. It allows him to play fast, understanding the scheme of Dave Womack.
2nd and 10, Hill fires far side, and the catch is made by Edward Pope, one of the tall receivers, a 6'4" sophomore. Again, a very short gain, not many yards after the catch so far tonight.
And that's a linebacker out in space making a play. Sedarius Bryant, I mean, 14. He's 5'9", 220 pounds, and he's out there in space making plays against wide receivers.
Hill's had 9 completions. He's 9 for 9, but only 43 yards.
Left guard.
False start. Offense. Number 51. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
And the second penalty on Jarvis Harrison.
I'm just so impressed with how sound they are on the back end with the way they defend the pass, because there's a lot going on. They try to confuse you, but they react to the football quickly. They're sound, and they're great open field tacklers.
And they're really tough to convert 3rd and 15 against. Hill in the pocket. Overthrown and intercepted. Intercepted by Cody Pruitt, the senior leader of the secondary, weaving through the Aggies. Inside the 20-10, touchdown Ole Miss, 75 yards. Wow. Robert Kimdichie pressured Hill late, and Cody Pruitt there to make the easy pick in the dazzling return.
Boy, he just kind of sits there as a robber and does a good job of reading the quarterback's eyes. Look who got pressure there late. The sophomore Kimdichie gets to him and gets the pressure, which forced the throw there a little bit prematurely from Kenny Hill. He threw the ball and it sailed on him right over the top of his receiver, and Pruitt was there waiting on it.
And Taylor Bertolette, or excuse me, Gary Wunderlich, the freshman, and they got the land shark symbol going here. The defense pitching a shutout and finding the end zone, 21-0.
Chris, this pass was intended for Edward Pope up at the top. He's going to run a route right here and work his way. Pruitt's just sitting right here as a safety, and he's reading the routes. What he does is he reads this. He's going to find that this receiver's going deep, and he's sitting right here. Here comes a crossing route. Now watch how he passes off that route to another safety, which frees him up to just read the quarterback's eyes, and he's in perfect position there to come up with that interception.
The 11th interception of the season for the Rebels, 11th of Cody Pruitt's career. Noel, as the Aggies find themselves in a 3-touchdown hole early second quarter in a stunned Kyle Field. Back to Reese Davis in the studio with an update. Hi, Reese. All right, thanks, Reese. This place was bedlam about a half hour ago. Now it is deathly quiet as the Aggies find themselves in need of answering right now.
Yeah, and remember, they got down 28-7 last week against Mississippi State. They became very predictable with their play calling, where we're down, we've got to throw, and it allowed that very talented Mississippi State defense to pin its ears back and come after them. A week later, now they're down 21-0 to Ole Miss. Now they're at home. Let's see what they do as far as trying to execute.
A little pump fake, buying some time, rolls right, fires along the sidelines. It's ruled a catch at the 35-yard line. That was Ricky Seals-Jones for the first time tonight.
Pretty good effort there by Seals-Jones. He keeps that left foot down as he goes up and makes that catch. Boy, look at his fingertips.
Target.
Ball almost went through there. He caught the back end of the ball.
Right foot down, left foot out of bounds.
Looks like a catch to me.
It's third down. We need about 1.5 yards. Trey Carson is the back. Aggies desperate to move the chains here in the early going. Rebels make it tough and stop him short. Trey Carson did not get there. This is a quick and, as you said, well-schooled, instinctive defense.
Well, and they just attack. They attack the line of scrimmage, and they've got great depth. That's a sophomore, John Youngblood this time, that gets the penetration off of the edge. They just outfight you in the trenches, and if you're not going to match their enthusiasm and effort, it's going to be a long day.
It's an offense, Kirk, that was perfect converting this year, 3rd and 2 or less. Hadn't been stopped all year. Marshall Pack chooses to catch the ball at the 5-yard line. That's a freshman mistake.
True freshman.
Yeah. But bad field position didn't stop the Rebels before. We had a 99-yard touchdown drive and a 75-yard interception return. Ole Miss up 21-0 in College Station, backed up at their 5-yard line. The bright spot for the Aggies so far has been the punting. He's backed up the Rebels several times, has Kaiser, but it hasn't phased Bo Wallace of the offense. First down handoff to Walton, and Jalen Walton knocked down after a short gain. To Heather Cox.
Chris, Hugh Freeze shared with me what he told his team moments before they took the field. He said, last week, our theme was crash the party against Alabama. This week, it's about building. He said, if you take one stick, it's easy to break. You take a bundle, hard to break. Someone carry the shield, someone carry the brick. Everybody do their job. Then he said, there's 106,000 against us, maybe 100 with us. I like our odds. Guys, what do you think? Is it working so far?
So far, so good. He knows how to deliver a speech and push buttons, that's for sure. It's a keeper by Wallace, who's hit hard across the 15. It'll set up a third down. He was so calm, and I think he felt like his team was capable of an effort like this. Human nature says you're going to have a letdown after a monumental win last week.
I think playing here and again being doubted and questioned that they could come here after such a big win really helped keep their team motivated. You and I were at practice on Thursday. You could kind of feel that energy, that they were not sleepwalking coming into this game at all.
Wallace on third down delivers in traffic, catch made across the 15, and it's a first down. Vince Sanders, the senior, who's known for running those great routes, sharp cuts.
And a good job by Cody Core. He kind of opens this up, and it's just spacing. Cody Core up to the top. You're trying to find a little between a linebacker and a safety. He sits down perfectly, and that's great timing between Bo Wallace and his wide receiver.
Quarterback razor sharp so far. Hit his last 7 passes. There's an end around on first down. Latavius Burdett knocked down across the 25-yard line.
Bo Wallace has been questioned. He's been doubted. Last year he had ups and downs. He's a 3-year starter. Hugh Freeze believes in him. I think last week the most impressive thing is not just a comeback win for Bo Wallace. It's how he handled himself. It wasn't like a, hey, how do you like me now? I told you so. It was very mature, very level-headed in the way he handled success, and it's carrying over tonight and the way he's in control of this offense.
He's run up and changed a lot, hasn't he? Wallace again with the keeper on 2nd and 6. Follows a blocker, has a first down. He went to Arkansas State, where Freeze was the offensive coordinator, and he wasn't grown up at that point. He didn't really dedicate himself, ended up transferring because he wasn't going to play at Arkansas State, went to a junior college. Freeze got the job. They didn't really have an established quarterback at Ole Miss. He made the call to Bo and said, hey, Bo, it didn't end well at Arkansas State, but will you trust me? Will you come back? You want to play quarterback in the SEC?
I love that story. In fact, it has Tom Rinaldi written all over it. We got to do a feature on it because it's amazing to think where he was and what he had to go through to get to this point of being a quarterback at Ole Miss and the number 3 ranked team in the country.
Mathers running right again, excellent blocking on the edge, and a good first down gain for Ole Miss.
This running game, Bo Wallace running the football as well as these backs, but there's the story you talked about. 2010 redshirted while Hugh Freeze was the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, and they had plenty of run-ins there. Then he went the community college route, and then he goes to Ole Miss when Hugh Freeze got on the phone and said, hey, remember me? Remember all those times I made you run stadium steps?
His mom wasn't too sure, was she, that Bo should go with him a second time. Wallace throws over the middle, ball deflected, and it falls incomplete. And he wasn't on his best behavior when he got to Oxford. Now he went out, got in a little trouble, and Freeze had to call his mom and said, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work out, but Bo got the message, and he's certainly changed.
Well, eventually. Last year he was still kind of up and down. And then they said the Mississippi State game, the Egg Bowl last year when they lost, he took a beating in the social media and a lot of his own fans. I think that really allowed him to just kind of tune out the good and the bad and just get focused on being a great teammate and being a leader for this team this year.
It's only midway 2nd quarter, but the way this Rebels offense is played, there's some urgency for the Aggies to get the stop, and their fans know it. And with the play clock winding down, Ole Miss will spend a timeout. These are great fans who will never give up on their team. A lot of them on their feet waving the towels, hoping the Aggies can get Ole Miss off the field. Monday Night Football. Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers trying to make it 3 wins in a row when they take on the St. Louis Rams. 8:15 on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. No other night is Monday night. On Thursday night, a loss for the Texans, and J.J. Watt has come up the road. It's a short drive from Houston to watch the Aggies. A&M could use him on the field right now.
No doubt about it, especially right here on this 3rd down.
12th man trying to make it tough on Wallace. The Aggies desperate to get the ball back, try to cut into this lead. Wallace, a keeper, hit hard, falls forward, doesn't get first down yardage.
But it's not over yet. I mean, Hugh Freeze is one of these guys that's known to go for it, even in his own territory on fourth down.
You don't think he'd go up 3 touchdowns here on fourth down?
No, you just never know with him. I mean, it's a great stop there on third down. That Texas A&M defense, for the first time tonight, at a crucial point in this game, down 21, steps up and makes a play against that run game.
Yeah, Hardrick Walker, the 300-pound tackle, was waiting for Wallace that time. They've seen lots of quarterback runs, not fooled.
But Wallace, 8 carries already tonight.
It's A&M taking a timeout before the punt. Just 6:18 before halftime. Ole Miss still in front by 3 touchdowns. An important stop by that Aggies defense. They'll get the ball back. There's the freshman from Melbourne, Australia. Home of the Australian Open tennis, Herbie. He's a lefty, a rugby punter. It's a low kick with backspin, excellent direction, and it's going to be fielded on the bounce. Noyle, a risky return, trying to make a play. Stop at the 17.
This Ole Miss defense coming in, it was well documented how dominating they have been. Their goal tonight against this running game, bounce it, get it to go east and west, and then chase it down, and then defending the pass. How about how quickly they react to a football and they tackle out in space? One of the best you'll see in the country. And here their leader, Cody Pruitt, sitting there kind of in a robber, reading the eyes of Kenny Hill, steps in front of that poor throw. Comes up with a pick 6 to give them that 21-point lead. A&M's got to get something going right here with Kenny Hill.
Here's a first down throw over the middle. Wide open receiver. Banging forward is Cameron Clear, the tight end. The Land Sharks have been in a feeding frenzy. I like what you see Pruitt, who had the pick 6, what they told us about the off-season study of the Seahawks coverage concepts.
Yeah, and it paid off with that interception where Cody Pruitt, and I think it's dumbfounding right now for offenses. They look at this defense, they don't quite understand it. Pruitt that time passing off in that interception, a route to another safety. It freed him up to just kind of freelance. He read the eyes of Kenny Hill and made that interception.
Trey Williams hit in the backfield and dropped for a loss. Once again, Cedarius Bryant, the linebacker, got there in a hurry.
Oh, he shot a gap here and used his quickness and just instincts. Watch off to the right side. You see the confusion? The tight end that time, Cameron Clear, whiffed on him, and it's because I think he didn't anticipate that kind of quickness and that kind of decisiveness there from Cedarius Bryant.
Exactly what you don't want to do against Ole Miss. Get behind the sticks. 2nd and 15. Hill flips it short, but again the Rebels fight off blockers pretty quickly and close it down for about a 5-yard gain.
Yeah, I mean, when you can rush 3 and still get some pressure, you can affect Kenny Hill, and you've got 8 guys back there with their eyes on the quarterback. Boy, that makes it really, really tough to execute against this defense. Again, is a veteran bunch that plays very, very fast.
See if they bring pressure or just try to rush with 3 or 4 guys. 3rd and 10. Not showing pressure. They rush just 4. Hill has time, delivers across the middle, and the catch is made. Fighting for a first down. Still going. Across the 40, much needed gain for the Aggies there. They get it up to Trey Williams.
And that's the 2nd time that they've tried to find an opportunity to pick on those linebackers. The middle coverage. Remember, they hit Cameron Clear a little bit earlier. First play of this drive for a nice first down. This time they kind of wait for those linebackers to clear out and then drop it down real quick to Trey Williams.
They're using the backs and tight end Clear so far as receivers. They haven't been able to get the ball to the outside guys much at all.
Well, they've only been able to run for 19 yards. They're putting it again all on Kenny Hill in this passing game. Their goal was to be more balanced. You see, the first 4 drives, they only have 4 first downs, 3 punts, the interception that was returned for a touchdown. But again, running the football, they're losing the battle up front and not giving any of the backs, Carson Williams or Trey Williams, any room to run, and so it's all on the passing game of Kenny Hill.
There's a first down handoff to Brandon Williams. It should be 2nd and 9. It'll set up 3rd down and 3. This is an offense that aggressively and successfully takes shots downfield, makes defenses stretch vertically. Hadn't thrown a single ball beyond 15 yards tonight.
And the reason they're not doing that is Ole Miss is able to create all this confusion and attack the line of scrimmage and keep two safeties deep. And when you keep two safeties deep, it makes it very hard to try to throw the ball downfield unless you go down the middle of the field.
Brandon Williams in motion on third down. It's a first down completion to the 45 of Ole Miss. Yeah, the one downfield throw was the pick six by Pruitt, but they moved the sticks.
And that time you saw Kenny Hill in rhythm. He got back, made a quick read, and the ball got out of his hands. This is the Kenny Hill we saw when they opened up against South Carolina, where he was able to get back. It was a clear picture. Get back, get the ball out of his hands in rhythm, first down.
3 minutes to go before halftime. Hill back again, escapes, and is knocked down after gaining a yard. The pass rush got to him in a hurry. Denzel Kimdichie knocked him down. Gross, a backup tackle who got in there.
Well, they're rotating a lot of different people. He just came right over the top of Mike Matthews. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just using quickness and power, and he just ran right over the top of Mike Matthews. Kenny Hill didn't have a chance, and there they are in the open field, closing in a hurry. Levon Hooks that time, the senior involved.
They motion Williams out of the backfield. Throw over the middle. Catch made. And this is Ricky Seals-Jones, the rangy freshman. And the Aggies now in scoring position for the first time at the 29.
Well, that was a great route and great timing that time between Ricky Seals-Jones and Kenny Hill. Gave him a little shoulder fake and then got behind the coverage.
10th play of the drive. Trey Carson hammering for a short gain inside of 2 minutes before halftime.
That was a big play and a lot of work to be able to get this, but a little at the top there, kind of a little pump fake. The linebacker Keith Lewis bought on it. He hesitated, and I think the big thing there is Seals-Jones, who's had to move to that spot that typically is held down by Malcolm Kennedy. This week has repped it all week, and that time showed some instincts there on the inside. Typically you'll see him on the outside in this offense.
Hill is 5 for 5 on this drive. Back to throw again. Delivers far side, had a man wide open, and he short-armed it. Sabian Holmes was running free. The quarterback couldn't get it to him.
That was the first time tonight that the Texas A&M scheme confused Ole Miss. They were hesitant. They actually both stayed with the inside receiver. They had 3 receivers to the top, and they stayed. 2 of the defenders stayed to the inside, and it opened up a clear alley to the outside on a wheel route, and he just short-armed it. I think he saw him a little bit late, was slow to react.
3rd and 8. Maybe 4 down territory, and 3 touchdowns here in the first half. Hill has protection, delivers near side, was behind the receiver. Holmes couldn't hold on, so another missed opportunity. Now it's 4th down.
That's an example of Sabian Holmes and Kenny Hill. One guy reads it one way and the other does the other. Kenny Hill thinks he's going to sit right there, and Holmes thinks he's got a defender on him and he wants to continue to work to the middle. That's just an example of just not the quarterback and the receiver not being on the same page, because the play was well designed. It was there. They had the coverage they wanted. It's just the quarterback and again the receiver not being able to execute.
Josh Lambo, who had a walk-off field goal to beat the Rebels, but it's a fake. And taking off is Connor McQueen, the holder. He didn't get close. The Rebels not at all fooled. Denzel Kimdichie and Tony Connor, and they sniffed that one out. The coaches loved the fact their team was ready for it.
Ole Miss is a defense and a team that plays so sound. Hugh Freeze has these guys and Dave Womack. Watch this. I mean, look at the defense. They're all waiting back there. What are you going to do with the football? They're all over it. Kimdichie, Robert gets most of the attention, but Denzel's really one of the leaders of this team. Tony Connor's there, the sophomore, and Hugh Freeze let his team know, guys, be ready for the fake. They're down 21. You can see they're pretty fired up about it. Down he goes.
Yeah, Freeze hit the deck. So the Aggies empty again, minute 9 before halftime. We'll see if Freeze and Wallace take some shots downfield or content to sit on the lead. A chain broke on the far side. That's the delay. What do you think, Kirk? You let Wallace throw it downfield, try to add to this lead?
I think it depends on how one of these first plays go. If you pick up some positive yards, maybe you give it a shot.
Well, he dropped the snap, but picks it up and has a completion. That's Laquan Treadwell. They will move the sticks to the 41. Got 2 timeouts.
Definitely, you're going to see them try to, at the very least, get into field goal territory.
Clock moving now inside of a minute. It's Jordan Wilkins in the game, but Wallace is firing far side, incomplete off the hands of Treadwell as we check in with Reese Davis in the studio. Reese, thanks. You know about tempo offenses. Rebels back up and playing. So far, saving their 2 timeouts. Wallace with the keeper. Has a little crease, takes a hard hit, knocked down at the 45 by DeShazer Everett.
Yeah, got to get a timeout there. They're trying to catch him off guard, get out of bounds, or get a first down. And we came up short. They had to use their timeout.
43 seconds to go. Rebels take timeout. Been 4 years since A&M has been shut out in the first half. In October against Missouri, they trailed 16-0. This is not what the record crowd expected. Someone saying this game would define what this team was about off a beatdown in Starkville. And so far, it's a beatdown from the other team from the state of Mississippi. Rebels still with 1 timeout and 43 seconds. And we get the wind at their back for their young kicker. Wallace fires over the middle, tipped, and almost intercepted. I think one Aggie got in the way of another's pick right there.
Yeah, you never know that, but you're right. I think Everett tipped that ball, and another defender sitting there waiting on it to be able to come up with the interception. Pretty good effort there, but look at that. He said, "That's my ball." That's Armani Watts, the true freshman, saying, "It's coming right to me," and who knows, maybe he's got a chance at a return. But good hustle there by DeShazer Everett.
So on 4th and 5, it's a punt, and it's take it at the 10-yard line. Noel trying to spin free, dancing still along the sidelines, hit hard, knocked down at the 28-yard line. 24 seconds to go. So Kevin Sumlin's team is as a marker down on the return, about to be shut out in the first half for the first time
ever since he's been a head coach.
Used to having prolific offenses. They have 130 total yards, but they've given up 225 and a pick 6 to Cody Pruitt.
After the play, personal foul, number 18 of the return team, half the distance to the goal, first down.
Penalty on the Aggies. Among the impressive things about this first half for the Rebels, no penalties, no turnovers. They've been excellent on special teams. You can check every box. A road team in this environment, it's an almost perfect first half.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Break. You go to the conference, you think about overs. I think they clearly were anticipating, because when the big fella comes in, not only is it typically a run-heavy set, usually it's a run to the left behind the All-American left tackle, Laramie Tunsil, and they were ready for it.
Kind of a disgusted shake of the head from Freeze. The first 3 and out for the Rebels tonight. Will Gleason, a low punt, fielded on the hop by Noel, who's got the sideline, and Speedy Noel speeds inside the 35. Excellent starting field position for the A&M offense. 21-yard return, and the punter kind of hobbling off, holding his left ankle. Aggies set up well to cut into this 3-touchdown lead, but Ole Miss coach Hugh Freeze, Kirk, irate because Aggies got away with something right here.
Yeah, when Speedy Noel does this, any kind of movement at all with your hands, the ball is dead right there instantly. It's not a fair catch, it's just a dead ball. That's what Hugh Freeze is saying. Hey, he's giving a fair catch sign. Not necessarily a fair catch. but he was telling his team to get away from the football. And when you use your hands to say get away from the ball, and then you pick the ball up and take off running, it's a dead ball.
If Gatai, our official in the booth, says if it's deemed egregious that it can be reviewed. And now Matt Moore, the referee, has gone over, put on a headset. We'll see if they do review this.
Well, if they review it, the ball's going to be back at about their own 42-yard line. Be back at about the Texas A&M 42-yard line, because it doesn't take a whole lot of time to see. He's moving his hands.
Just a quick one motion of get away.
Yeah, get away, and then that's it. And good job by Hugh Freeze catching that, bringing it to the attention of the officials. Up at the top there right away. He's saying, wait a second.
It's a 20-yard difference in field position.
And you know what? You're talking about a team that's down by 21. They're looking for anything to get the crowd back into the game. Really good field position right here at the Ole Miss 37-yard line, and to push them back to their own 42. That's big for Ole Miss and for Hugh Freeze.
Matt Moore still with the headset on. Whether it's at the 37 or back in their own territory, increasing urgency now for Sumlin's offense to cut into this lead. Conversation continuing with Freeze on the far side. He knew it right away.
Sure did. Brought it to our attention as well when I saw him going crazy.
We'll also check the clock, because the seconds that ran off during the return will have to be put back on the clock if the ruling is reversed here.
Go back to Texas A&M's attack and what they're trying to do, and 37 yards rushing tonight is all they have.
On 20 carries.
20 carries, and that's it. And it was a big point of focus and emphasize the entire week that they had to win the battle of the line of
After
scrimmage.
review, the receiver gave a fair catch signal and then advanced. The ball be returned to the 42-yard line. Please put 11 minutes and 22 seconds on the game clock.
So they correct things and cost A&M 20 yards in starting field position.
Made the right call, and that's big. I mean, again, 21-point lead. It's not just about trying to stop them from scoring. This is one of those stadiums where you can create some momentum with a score, and it's been tough sledding for Texas A&M with the punts. And you see the interception.
Aggies got in scoring position once, but a fake field goal did not fool the Rebels. High snap collected by Hill, handed off to Brandon Williams. That's been the story of the Aggies running game tonight, pretty non-existent.
Yeah, well, again, you're talking about getting whipped up front, just more penetration. And this is not a defense there that's overloading the line of scrimmage and just attacking it where you can't deal with the numbers. This is just getting whipped up front by the defensive line, and they're getting inside. They're making it so hard to run the football.
Three-man rush. Hill has time, delivers into traffic, almost intercepted. Tony Connor, the linebacker, the nickelback, actually dropping into coverage.
Yeah, there's another miscommunication with one of his receivers, Speedy Noyle, who, again, they're moving him this week to different positions. He's playing outside, they moved him inside, and when you do that with young receivers and you're still dealing with a young quarterback in Kenny Hill, it's easy to have miscommunication between a quarterback and a receiver.
3rd and 10. Hill fires over the middle. Catch made at the 50, but short of first down yardage. It's Ricky Seals-Jones, and let's see what someone does here at midfield.
Right now he looks like yeah, they're going to go for it. They're bringing in the big tight end Cameron Clear. This is a big play in this football game at the 50-yard line.
Remember how good the Aggies have been in these situations all season coming into this game, but the Rebels an excellent 3rd and short defense.
I mean, they're struggling to run the football.
Trey Carson in the pistol. Blake Luck inside of 10.
And looking over, they're feeling blitz. See what kind of adjustment they make to this linebacker blitz.
Blake Luck at 1 as they snap it. It's a pitch on the edge. First down converted. Trey Carson to the Ole Miss 45.
A great call, a great adjustment, and how about the block by Cameron Clear? The big tight end does a good job of taking away Denzel Kimdichie right there, takes him down, and that opened it up just enough room for Trey Carson to pick up that first down. So they bring the big fella in, and it works out for him where he picks up the block.
On first down, Carson again had to spin away. Penetration once again by the Rebels defense. A flag is down. Tackle made on the far side after a 1-yard gain. Looks like the Aggies are backing up.
C.J. Johnson on the right
Holding.
there.
9 offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
You got Seals Jones, the receiver. Back him up 10.
See a shot there of C.J. Johnson. He's the one who got the penetration and got into the backfield. And then Ricky Seals just locks up Denzel Kimdichie. But we'll keep an eye on C.J. Johnson 10. He's one of the leaders of the Ole Miss defense.
So first down, throw near side, catch made by Niederhofer, but nothing after the catch. That's what the Rebels have been doing all year to receivers.
That's what they're known for. And again, if you're just tuning in, we're going to continue to talk about it because Ole Miss defense is playing so well. 9 returning starters. They know Dave Womack's system inside and out. It allows them to play at a very fast pace in the way they react.
Hill has time, delivers again high, catch made at the 40. Fighting for a first down is Speedy Noyle. Again, without Malcolm Kennedy tonight, who continues to have a shoulder injury, this young Aggie receiving corps has been struggling so far. Noyle has stepped up.
He has. Again, they bounced him around that time. Nice pass protection for the quarterback.
Carson hammers ahead to the 30. It's been by their standards tonight, a pretty productive first down run.
Talked about not having Malcolm Kennedy. You have Josh Reynolds, number 11, who's a sophomore. Speedy Noyle is a freshman. Edward Pope, who's a sophomore. Ricky Seals Jones, who's a redshirt freshman. It's a young group that they're looking to and counting on. And last week on the road, they really struggled. In fact, Kevin Sumlin said he's never been around a group of receivers that struggled that bad.
Slant. Seals Jones makes the catch. It'll be 3rd and a yard. Trey Elston, again, who came off the suspension to start the third quarter, made the stop.
When we've watched him play well, they get separation. Tonight it's been tough. Last week it was tough to get separation from that Mississippi State defense.
Williams in the game on 3rd and a yard. Hill's going to throw it. Near side, has a man. There's a cushion for Edward Pope, who's got a first down into the red zone. So the Aggies' best march of the night.
That's good recognition by Kenny Hill. He had soft coverage against one of his receivers. This time, the receiver and the quarterback, Kenny Hill, on the same page. Good job there by Edward Pope. So much of this A&M offense is route adjustments from the receivers. It's important that the quarterback and the receiver understand what they're both reading and seeing.
Rebels showing pressure, Kirk, on this first down play. Hill well protected, fires to the end zone, but over the head. Speedy Noyle never had a chance there. Very well covered by Senquez Golson, who made the game-saving pick against Bama last week.
Yeah, that was not a great route by Speedy Noyle. He's got to work more to our left, get to the inside. He just gave it a little bit of a head fake. See how there's no room back to the outside? When you're going to work to kind of have a fade thrown to the corner, you've got to give Kenny Hill a little bit of room to work with. That time he didn't work to the inside at all and left Kenny Hill no room to throw the football.
Hill back on 2nd and down. Flushed, runs, 10, gets a block, 1st and goal at the 6. Hill's best run of the night.
But they brought a linebacker blitz with number 4, Kimdichie, and he didn't get home. It was a good job by the offensive tackle that time. Abuhi just kind of pushing him along. And then once he got to the outside, he breaks contain. He's got enough speed there to make a defense pay for it. All of a sudden, again, here comes A&M. Clearly, this is a big, big drive for them in this game, down 21.
1st and goal. Hill back, well protected, throws into traffic. Niederhofer makes the catch. Hit immediately. He'll spot it up at the 3. Facing a defense that's allowed only 3 touchdowns all season long, only 1 touchdown pass.
On Thursday in practice, wow, here they go, quick.
Handoff, dancing into the end zone. Touchdown, Aggies finally on the scoreboard. They played in a hurry. The Rebels did not get lined up. And Kenny Hill and company, a much-needed touchdown.
Boy, That was quick. I didn't go back and look at that. I thought Ole Miss had guys running on the field, running off the field. Good job of going quick and trying to get set by Texas A&M, and some pretty tough running there by Williams.
And Trey Williams, a 3-yard run for number 3. So midway in the third quarter, Aggies within a couple of touchdowns. Lambeau knocks it through. Check the flag on the point after.
Offside. Number 21 of the defense. That penalty is declined. Extra point is good.
So the Aggies take good field position and march to the end zone. Deficit now 14. I mean, I know it's at 37, but I mean, they call Reveille, Kirk, the first lady of Aggie Land, of course, the official mascot. Ryan Kreider, corporal, responsible for taking care of her. She gets to go to class. And look how closely she pays attention to the professor there.
She's listening, front row.
History class, yes, they're chilling out over there. A little more excited she should be than she was a few minutes ago.
It's a late kick. It's a late kick for her.
So a methodical 14-play, 58-yard drive. It took 4:17. That's a long time for a Sumlin offense, but playing very fast at the end of the drive and catching the Rebels not lined up. This is Mark Dodson for Ole Miss in the end zone, bringing it out, hammered hard, short of the 20 by that kickoff coverage team. So there's life in Kyle Field now.
You score a touchdown, and then all of a sudden the crowd gets back into the game. Let's not forget the 4th and 2 at midfield that they went for, and on a speed option, pick up a great block by Clear, and they kept their drive alive because of that. Eventually leads to a touchdown, gets the crowd back into the game. Special teams is affected. Now let's see if the A&M defense plays a little bit better, a little bit more inspired here as well.
Wallace from the 19. They hand it off to Walton running left. They've used this play a lot, typically getting a nice first down gain.
Yeah, both the guards pull around the left side. They have done this a lot to that side. They, throughout their film study, Hugh Freeze and his offensive staff have seen something from a personnel matchup that they like, because they continue to go back into the boundary, pulling the guards and running wide.
Second down. Nothing doing. The Aggie run defense. Miles Garrett, the freshman known as a pass rusher, also very active in run stopping too.
6'5", 255 pounds, showing his versatility. You're right, he's known as a pass rusher, but that time just picked up the back and threw him into the backfield.
They need a long two, so they don't bring in Jeremy Liggins, a 300-pound Wildcat quarterback. Wallace still in the game. Rebels don't really have a very physical running back. An empty backfield on third down.
Chris Treadwell alone at the top, matched up against Everett.
Wallace looking that way, fires, incomplete. Howard Matthews, the veteran safety, close to a pick, but he forces a 3-and-out.
Well, that is a great play by the captain. The senior stepping up on a crucial third down. I thought they might get the ball to Treadwell, but instead it's Matthews on the inside. Watch him work around the receiver and the left hand there. He almost was one step away from getting in front of that and intercepting that for a touchdown.
So Gleason boots it away. This is Noyle. This time doesn't make a fair catch signal at the 25. Tries to get the corner. Speedy Noyle, as a flag comes down, is still running out near midfield. And now down inside the 30, but it's going to come back, I think. A 44-yard return after the 47-yard punt. Let's check the marker. It was pretty early in the return.
It was thrown right where you typically have a push in the back or a block in the back.
Ole Miss has still not been penalized tonight. This would be the 5th penalty on the Aggies.
About Speedy Noyle in the open field. You know, he's the #1 ranked athlete in all of high school football out of the state of Louisiana. Kevin Sumlin and his bunch beat LSU, obviously, to be able to get him to play here.
Hard to do that. To go to New Orleans and beat LSU on a tough prospect.
#1 ranked, you know, how they say athlete, and not a corner, not a quarterback, not a receiver, just an athlete. And they were fortunate enough to bring him in here, and he's lined up at receiver early in his career.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Holding number 20 of the return team. That penalty will be enforced 10 yards from the end of the kick. We had a block in the back, number 17 of the return team. That penalty will be declined. First down.
Spotted the foul, I believe he meant, so it'll back it up and erase the nice 44-yard return by Noyle. This ball will be spotted way back at the 16-yard line. So a very costly pair of penalties.
And it's the timing of the penalty. The crowd is back into the game now. It's putting more on the offense. They've got to crank it back up and try to go about it, you know, 85 yards, 84 yards here to try to hit pay dirt. But you know, they had a lot of momentum. They had the touchdown. They got a 3 and out, and then they get this opportunity for a nice return. There's the penalty at the top there.
And James White hauling a coverage man to the ground. Hill delayed handoff on first down, nothing doing. Brandon Williams had nowhere to run. He'll lose about 1.5 yards.
Did a very nice job their last drive of kind of mixing in run with pass. It wasn't all about Kenny Hill in that passing game. They mixed in some option, mixed in some run game, and that opened things up a little bit more for Kenny Hill with softer coverage from the Ole Miss secondary.
Williams motions out on second down. Throw near side. Catch made there by Edward Pope, but again, nothing after the catch. Tony Connor was right there.
Tony Connor is a sophomore who plays that nickel back. Dave Womack plays that 4-2-5 that you see a lot of defensive coordinators playing, where you get 5 defensive backs. You get more speed on the field. How about that for textbook form tackle? Hope my boys are at home watching that one. That was perfect.
3rd and 8. I'm sure they're watching. It's getting near their bedtime, though, I have to say.
I would break the film out tomorrow if they're asleep. That was good.
Aggies trying to keep this drive going. Hill has good protection. Fires far side. Again, a miscommunication. It's incomplete. 4th down coming up.
And I just want to make sure people are watching thinking, boy, why are they continuing to not be on the same page? This offense requires that the quarterback and the receivers see the same thing in coverage, and it adjusts their routes. It's not like, let's go to the chalkboard and you're going to run this route. Depending on the coverage, whether it's man or zone, impacts how you run your route. And if you read it one way as a receiver and the quarterback reads it another, and we're throwing it on time, you're going to see sometimes where the quarterback and the receiver aren't on the same page.
Kaiser boots it. Pack calls for a fair catch at the 35. 4:18 in the 3rd quarter. Rebels get back to offense. Well, the All-State Saturday Night Football bus has joined us here in College Station. You can enter the All-State It's Good sweepstakes for a chance to win $100,000 plus a trip to the college football playoff semifinal game at the All-State Sugar Bowl and the national championship game, as well as weekly prizes throughout the season. Rebels have punted on their last 4 drives, gained a total of just 71 yards. Begin at their 35. A first down throw. No, a pump fake, and Wallace keeps it. Has some room. Now is hauled down near the line of scrimmage by Everett.
Nice job of holding on to the football there by Bo Wallace. Thought better of it. Everett had closed in on his receiver that he was about to go to, so instead he just kind of holds on to it instead of giving up on a play, and picks up a couple yards. Again, doing a great job tonight of avoiding the disastrous plays so far for Bo Wallace. Remember all that good Bo and bad Bo? Making very sound decisions so far tonight.
Empty backfield on 2nd and 8. Throw near side into traffic, incomplete. Almost intercepted. Tommy Sanders, the linebacker, was right there. I don't know if Wallace saw him.
And we just talked about how he's making great decisions. That's like calling it an 8th inning. Boy, this no-hitter looks great, doesn't it? What a no-hitter. All of a sudden, guy gives up a single, a bloop over the second baseman. First time tonight, he kind of panicked and forced a throw into coverage, and he was fortunate that A&M did not come up with the interception because he was sitting right there waiting for the ball. Tommy Sanders.
Very athletic linebacker, only comes in on passing situations. And here's one of them on 3rd and 8. Wallace pressured, escapes, weaves, dives, and stretches for a first down just 45.
What a job of bouncing back and giving it all. Laying it on the line here on 3rd down after a poor decision. Bo Wallace goes airborne to get that last yard to pick up a first down. Crowds in the game. Defense is starting to get confident. They confuse him. And he pulls it down and goes airborne and gets that first down. Without that effort, it's 4th down and a yard.
Usually you only see that at the goal line. You don't really watch your quarterback going airborne very often. Mathers hammers straight ahead, about 8. You're right, Kirk. You said, well, giving up your body. He knows how important it is to kind of stem this momentum to keep the ball.
And that's a senior. That's a senior who's tired of hearing about how erratic he can be, and he's trying to be more consistent. Remember that play before he threw into coverage, comes right back on that crucial 3rd down and makes a heck of a play.
2nd and short. It's Mathers shifting to the left of the quarterback now. He's got the handoff, bounces it outside. Now cuts back, has a first down to the 43. Down to Heather Cox.
Chris, you guys talking about Bo Wallace and the personality he's showing tonight. Very interesting, him saying this week the value of beating Alabama is not just seen in the standings, it's the mental edge of knowing that we can compete with anyone in the country. And you sense that he's playing with a different level of confidence after that big win last week.
Hey, you're exactly right, Heather. Different level of maturity. He went back to his apartment. He didn't go out and celebrate, go down to the Grove and carry the goalposts around. Went back and chilled.
Like I said, Heather, I agree with you. It wasn't just winning it. It's the way he carried himself throughout that game and postgame.
First down throw, far side. Treadwell trying to work free. Gets inside the 40. Brought down by Ivan Robinson.
And we were at practice on Thursday, and there was just an energy at that Ole Miss practice where you know, we wondered before we got there, are they going to be able to kind of keep their feet on the ground and stay level-headed? And Bo Wallace, through all the ups and downs that he has been through, doing a very good job of leading this team in uncharted territory and playing with a lot of poise and maturity after everything he's been through.
And 2nd and 6. A pump fake by Wallace. Still alive, has some room, keeps it. One final pump fake to freeze the defenders, and he's pushed out at the 33. It'll be very close to a first down.
They were trying to find a matchup here. Well, you'd think Treadwell at the top right here, but Ingram sets up like he's blocking, and then he goes down the sideline. But give Texas A&M's defense some credit. They didn't buy it. They took it away. Took the route away for Bo Wallace. So yet again, another opportunity for Wallace to pull it down and try to pick up some yards, which he did.
They'll bring the sticks across to measure here with 1:03 to play in the 3rd quarter. Potentially crucial drive for Ole Miss. The Aggies, you know, back in it. 14 points is not a big hole, as good as the Rebels defense has played for this explosive Aggie offense. First down. So another scramble by Wallace produces a first down. He's had 2 touchdown runs tonight.
Yeah, he sure has. He's pulled that ball down and again making good decisions.
Speaking of good quarterbacks making decisions, Colin Kaepernick, he can move around pretty well. And the Niners against the Rams on Monday Night Football, 8:15 Eastern Time, and the Watch ESPN app.
Mark Snyder, the defensive coordinator from A&M, an adjustment is he's trying to attack. He's bringing safeties down and trying to get into the line of scrimmage more with more bodies. There you go.
Jalen Walton hauled down for no gain. 5 times tonight Wallace has run for a first down.
You know, they were a little bit tentative early, but look how they're getting extra bodies down here. They're just trying to outnumber Ole Miss, who's trying to work a little bit of clock, being a little bit more. The tendency is to run the football here with a 14-point lead in the second half, and A&M taking a few more chances, leaving their corners on islands by doing that, by getting their safeties up into the line of scrimmage.
Empty backfield. We have not seen Wallace take many downfield shots yet tonight, but here's one again. Single coverage, throws to the end zone, touchdown. Quincy Adebojo. Kirk, you sensed it. There was an opportunity there. They're flying downhill to cover the run, and Wallace takes a shot and hits it.
When you leave your safeties and your corners on an island, that's exactly what's going to happen. You take some chances. The very next thing, the Ole Miss coaches saw the same thing that we saw. It's a mismatch. It's a matchup that they want to try to expose. Burns in coverage. And boy, they find that without safety support behind it, an easy target. And how about our boy Bo Wallace again, stepping up with a nice throw.
First touchdown pass of the night to go with his 2 runs, and the fastest receiver on the Ole Miss roster, the sophomore from Cedar Hill, Texas, Quincy Adebojo, puts the Rebels back up by 3 touchdowns. Great job. That's it. It's nice when that works. 9-play, 65-yard touchdown drive for Ole Miss. Took 4 minutes and 4 seconds. Wallace to Adebojo, and the deficit for the Aggies once again is 21 with 13 seconds to play in the third quarter. That has quieted Kyle Field considerably. Trey Williams at the 5. Looking back toward the boundary, but again, excellent coverage by that kickoff team for the Rebels. Channing Ward, the defensive end, made the stop.
We talked about the man-to-man coverage without safety support. Here's Ingram, a tight end. He's going to work here. He's actually going to take the safety with him. And now it's just a one-on-one matchup right here with the speed of Adebojo going up against the corner, Devontae Burns. Nice timing. The ball is well thrown, but give Adebojo a lot of credit for the way he got around that single coverage. And they take advantage of a matchup they've been waiting for and waiting for. We saw him do it last week against Alabama in the second half. And even with the 14-point lead, Hugh Freeze decides to attack against the coverage that he saw.
And this incomplete on first down. You saw Adebojo with a big smile back in his home state. Second touchdown reception of the season.
I got to go back to the missed opportunity where it was 21-7. They get a big punt return, but they have a push, a hold and a push in the back, put them way back. So instead of having great field position, they go back inside their own 20-yard line, and they lost momentum. And A&M at that point struggled offensively. Ole Miss gets the ball back, and they go back up 21 points.
Mistakes plagued them in their big loss at Starkville and again tonight. 2 seconds in the third quarter. Hill fires over the middle, and that was what the problem was last week. A drop by Josh Reynolds right in his hand, and it's going to set up a third down as we end the third quarter. Ole Miss making another statement, up by 3 touchdowns with a quarter to play in College Station. Very busy Saturday for the National Championship Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper. It was in Dallas for the Red River rivalry. Oklahoma getting past Texas. Then it went over to Waco to watch the Bears come from 21 down to beat TCU. That's here tonight. It's a very eventful day in the Lone Star State.
How about that game?
Hill flushed out, dropped the ball, picks it up. A scramble for Ole Miss is running with it. A flag is down. They now signal touchdown. There was no whistle. Keith Lewis picked it up and ran it in. But we'll check the marker.
I don't think the ball was ever recovered until Keith Lewis, who was standing up, reached in there and picked it up. It was a bunch of bodies laying on the ground, and Keith Lewis.
74 of the offense. That penalty is declined. The result of the play, Touchdown.
A second defensive touchdown for the Land Sharks defense on the Hill fumble. The scoop and score by Lewis.
And there's a bunch of bodies there. You're thinking, oh, the ball's down there in the bottom of that pile. Watch 24 in white here. He just doesn't give up on the play. The ball hits off of his own thigh pad. Now watch this football. It's between some feet, between some legs. All of a sudden, he's still up. He figures out where that ball is. No one else knows where it is.
Good job by the officials not to blow a whistle, which would have killed the play.
Absolutely. That's a touchdown, as you said, the second one for Dave Womack's defense. These guys, you're taking a look tonight at one of the best defenses in college football between what they're doing at Mississippi State and what they're doing at Ole Miss. Those are two of the best defenses in the country.
Maybe two of the best college football teams in the country in the Magnolia State. How could you argue against it right now?
Right now, if you're ranking, you got to put Mississippi State up there at 1, Ole Miss at 2, 1A.
Rebels fans say, wait a minute, why not us 1?
1A, 1B. You might give Mississippi State maybe a little bit of a nod only because they went to Baton Rouge, they beat A&M. And then what they did today to Auburn, which was really impressive.
Seminoles barely holding on to #1 on the AP poll, brought to you by Allstate. It was a 2-point lead over Auburn, which of course lost by 15. So Mississippi State made a very strong statement this afternoon to jump over everybody.
Yeah.
But Ole Miss, they were
right
tied
there
at #3.
Yeah. And they are so sound. Can you imagine? Just dare to imagine Ole Miss and Mississippi State somehow maneuvering through the SEC West and setting up an Egg Bowl at the end with the way those two teams are playing.
Ole Miss hosting the Egg Bowl. We're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I know.
They're thinking about that in Mississippi right now.
How about Ole Miss has allowed 4 touchdowns this whole year, and they've scored 4 touchdowns.
It's pretty good when you're 0 in the ledger.
That's pretty good.
Tennessee comes to Oxford next week. Then that trip to Baton Rouge. That is perhaps Ole Miss's oldest traditional rivalry, even more than Mississippi State for the Ole Miss fans. LSU may be struggling, but that'll be a tricky game. Auburn comes to Oxford November 1st.
I think it's for them, it's going to be about continuing to show maturity and just handling all the attention and the success the way they did tonight, being able to continue to do that down the road.
So the Aggies now in a 4-touchdown hole, hand the ball off to Trey Carson. It's interesting when you look at Texas A&M, they have 6 wins over ranked teams since Kevin Sumlin got here, but all 6 of those away from Kyle Field. They're 6-3 against the top 25 outside of their own ballpark. 0-4 here. Have never beaten a ranked team here in his 2 years. Hill takes a shot deep downfield over the middle. It's caught by incomplete. Josh Reynolds had his hands on it, but well defended by Mike Hilton, who's played a good ball game in the corner.
Boy, Mike Hilton is one of these KG veterans for this team. We talked earlier when Elston was suspended by Hugh Freeze for the first half. Hilton went over to the safety spot, held his own in the first half. These guys have just such an understanding when you have the versatility of a Hilton to be able to move from a nickel back or a safety or a corner.
And there's a false start on the left side of the Aggies offensive line.
False start. 70. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
This is not what someone expected, to say the least. He thought his guys would rally, they would show up inspired over that loss in Starkville, and this would define their season. Well, if this is defining who the Aggies are, it's not what the head coach wants or expects. Hill chased, and the Land Sharks get him. A feeding frenzy down inside the 5-yard line. First sack of the night. Kimdichie combining with Marquise Haynes, the freshman.
How about the speed that they can put on the field at one time? Haynes getting in there, number 27. You've got Kimdichie, who's always seems to be in there, and they are just pinning their ears back right now and attacking this offensive line. I don't know, is that proper form? He got the thumb. He's got the thumb out. He's got to close
more like a rooster
thumb.
thing. Yeah, exactly.
He's got to close that off.
They haven't done much wrong tonight, that's for sure. Their catch taken at the 48-yard line. A touchdown lead for Ole Miss. It was the Bulldogs making a strong statement this afternoon. The Rebels doing so tonight. The DirecTV mobile studio in its 6th year of operation. Kind of a studio on wheels, indoor set, satellite. We'll be traveling across the country all season to some of the nation's top college football programs. 110,000 people were in here tonight, standing room only, the largest crowd ever to watch a football game in the state of Texas, and many of them have headed for the exits early in the 4th quarter, with Ole Miss up by 28.
Wow, they're in a hurry.
It doesn't look promising for the Aggies.
No, it doesn't. Now Bo Wallace and Ole Miss, instead of tempo, now they're just going to try to work this play clock down as much as they can and eat up this game clock.
You know, they've been reminded about the comebacks the Aggies made with Manziel at quarterback each of the last 2 years in Oxford. Wallace keeps it, tries to get the edge, does so, stays in bounds. Flag comes out as he dives down inside the 45. Is this the first penalty of the night against Ole Miss?
Yeah, it's like a hold here.
Holding. Offense number 75. 10-yard penalty. 2nd down.
And it's Robert Conyers, one of the backup offensive linemen in the center. Boy, fortunes can change so fast, especially in the rugged SEC West. Early season rankings are not terribly meaningful, but this Aggie team went to Starkville ranked number 6. Remember, overwhelming the Gamecocks opening night, beat up in a couple of overmatched teams, and now it appears, barring a biggest comeback in school history, back-to-back losses, heading to Alabama, by the way, next week. Pump fake for Wallace. Still alive in the pocket, and now taken down for the 2nd time by Ivan Robinson. It'll be 3rd down and long.
Yeah, I mean, so hard to become more consistent. We've seen that the last couple of weeks from him.
The Chick-fil-A ball that came from 3 touchdowns behind against Duke. Biggest comeback in school history. Somewhat surprising that he never come back for more than 21 down. The band of the Corps Cadets, they will stay to the end. They will not head to the exits. On 3rd down, it's just a handoff to Jordan Wilkins. And he's brought down at the 41 by Mastro Giovanni, the middle linebacker.
You know, our game last week where we had Michigan State and Nebraska, early in the game and into the 3rd quarter, it looked like we were saying things like, you know, Nebraska, maybe they won't have a chance to come back in this game, but you want to keep fighting. You want to see what you're made out of and build for the future. And next thing you know, you look up, big punt return, and they're back in it. And I'm not saying that's going to happen tonight, but because of where we are in the season, that's important. It finished the game. You learn a lot watching film as a coach. When your team's down 35-7, you find out who wants to keep fighting and who's a foxhole kind of guy when you get into these kind of scenarios.
Gleason, the Aussie, punts it down and rolls dead at the 13-yard line. Well, they're partying somewhere in College Station tonight, but not many happy souls at the moment inside Kyle Field. Back in your day, lockers were like a book. Little cubicle, right?
Yeah, we didn't.
A couple of stalls over there.
Wasn't quite like that.
That wall dates in 1927, by the way. Hill throws a near side catch made out across the 20-yard line. What a pretty crazy day in the state of Texas. I don't know if the Aggies can take any inspiration from what happened up the road in Waco. The Baylor Bears. You know, we chart things during the game. There's a handoff. Trey Williams has a 1st down. Down 21 points at TCU. Chris Felica, our ace researcher, said that Bears had a 2% chance of winning that game, a probability of 2% of winning it. I don't know if Baylor's ever 98% out of a game. They did come back and win it on a walk-off field goal.
Yeah, you know how quickly they can score. I was just surprised to see how TCU kept throwing the football.
Hill fires over the middle into coverage, but the catch is made at the 40-yard line. Nice job by Speedy Noyle. Has really been the one receiver having a night.
And it's a really nice job by Kenny Hill getting the ball thrown behind the TCU, or we're talking TCU, behind the Ole Miss secondary. That was Trey Elston, who missed the first half, who didn't get back in coverage.
And you know that Dave Womack and Freeze really want their side to finish this game strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that's one of the first times we've seen Kenny Hill have success throwing downfield vertically. Just a handful tonight. Not a lot of room back in the back end of Ole Miss's defense.
And 2nd and 10, Hill steps up, fires far side, a wide open Edwards Pope, and he scoots out of bounds at the 22.
I thought his left knee might have touched, but the official was standing right there, literally right behind him. Had a really good view to see if his left knee touches or actually, it's right there. You see him behind. He's looking at it.
Aggies are trying to play fast, and now a whistle, and they'll take a look at it.
I thought he's down.
Seemed pretty clear.
Yeah.
Running on the field was a completed pass. The previous play is under further review.
I think it'll be a completed pass, but we'll just have to spot it where the knee went down.
Yeah, that left knee, I thought there was a chance it was down. The Ole Miss bench reacted pretty quickly, too. Official's right there.
Could have been screened off by the defender, perhaps. Ball we spotted back, we think, at about the 33-yard line, so they'll move it back about 11 yards or so.
The other thing, the official may not be able to see when the ball got to the receiver. You know, so that's the beauty of replay. Get it right.
What do you make of the fact that the Aggies in the 2 years plus under Sumlin have really been a much better road team in these showdown games? They've lost to good teams.
Better underdog team. They're a better underdog program. They're more in a comfort zone when you don't think they have much of a chance. I think they respond better in that environment.
Well, they seem to respond better away from home with the crowd against them than with all this support in front of them.
When they're good, the crowd doesn't have any impact on their offense because they go fast and they communicate, you know, with hand signals. A crowd
the visiting
noise,
crowd, you mean?
Yeah, crowd noise on the road doesn't impact them. Now, why they're not playing well here, you know, in these bigger games against ranked teams, like I said, I think maybe it's the expectations are a little bit higher. Maybe the expectations are, hey, they're at home, they're going to win. And I think they play better in one of these teams when they have a chip on their shoulder and you don't respect them. They like being the underdog.
Not to be fair, one of those losses was to Florida in Manziel's first SEC start. One was to LSU here.
After review, the receiver's knee was on the ground at the 33-yard line. The ball be returned to the 33, where it'll be 3rd down and 3.
So it'll be 3rd down. They move the ball back about 11 yards after their clarification on the replay. They lost to Auburn and Alabama here a year ago, so really, really good teams. No disgrace losing to those teams, but they managed to win the showdown games away from home. Brandon Williams to the right of the quarterback on 3rd down. Throw far side. Noyle has it again, gets free, steps back and dances out of bounds inside the 25. So they convert on 3rd down.
You can really see why the coaches love Speedy Noyle, and he has a 43.5 vertical. That's how explosive he is, and 8 receptions tonight. They've moved him around, but
43
right now,
and a half.
Yeah, and a half. We'll take that.
Hill back, steps up, throws to the end zone, leaping catch, touchdown, Josh Reynolds.
Now they could score in a hurry. They're one of the best offenses in the country. In fact, they lead the nation with 21 touchdown drives of 2 minutes or less. And make that 22 now because that was under 2 minutes, just under 2 minutes, a minute 57, 7 plays, 87 yards. And a nice job of Thought he might be getting a little greedy, but Josh Reynolds, his most productive receiver this year, goes up into the air and uses his body to keep that defender away for a touchdown.
His 8th touchdown of the season. He's had touchdowns in back-to-back games. The lead is back to 21, but time running out on Texas A&M. The SEC on ESPN. The finale of an eventful, exciting, dramatic, comeback-filled day of football in the Lone Star State. Oklahoma massively outgained by Texas. They led 17-3 at halftime, held on against Charlie Strong. Baylor, with a walk-off field goal, ties the largest comeback in school history, down 21 to TCU. Horned Frogs really blew that game. The Mountaineers rallied on the road, Kirk. Also won on a late field goal, trailed by a couple touchdowns in the fourth quarter. But the Aggies have one final comeback in them to cap this day.
Hey, the way this day has gone in this state, you never know. West Virginia, by the way, gets Baylor in Morgantown next week.
Interesting game in the Big 12. The Aggies have tried a couple of onside kicks this year, recovered one of them. Taylor Bertolette backing up now. Will they dribble it or kick it away? I think he's going to boot it deep. Jalen Walton will just down it in the end zone. Tomorrow morning, get your NFL Sunday started off on the right foot. 10 a.m. Eastern time on ESPN. Sunday NFL Countdown presented by Snickers. All the latest news and updates. And before you set your fantasy lineups, catch Fantasy Football Now presented by Papa John's, 11 a.m. on ESPN2. 8:47 to play in College Station. Rebels offense comes back out to try to protect this lead. They have scored 3 touchdowns. The defense has scored twice tonight.
You talked about how Hugh Freeze wants to see his team finish strong, and without a doubt, I'm sure that's the message to Bo Wallace as they take the field here. And for A&M, they're thinking about trying to strip the ball and trying to come up with a turnover to get the ball back.
This is Mathers. Just a short game.
Mark Snyder, just when we said he's starting to commit a few more people to the line of scrimmage because they were down at that time by 14. They needed to do something to crank up the intensity. All of a sudden, in doing that, he left some corners and safeties one-on-one, and they ended up giving up a big one. But they're having to try to put some numbers up to that line of scrimmage just because of the score.
There's Adebojo who made him pay on the touchdown reception from Wallace. He'll use the play clock here on 2nd and 9. Take it down near 8 minutes to play. On the end around. Carried across the 30 near the first down marker is Burdette. Antavius Burdette. Done that a couple times as well. They've really tried to get east and west run wide on A&M's defense tonight. Done it well.
Yeah, they have. They've outflanked them. They've gotten great blocking from the receivers. We haven't called Laquan Treadwell's name a ton tonight. I mean, he's had some chances to make some plays, but just spending some time with him Thursday, he was highly touted. You'd think as a receiver, sometimes guys get caught up in their own stats. He's asked to block along with the rest of these receivers a lot in this system. Just an impressive individual, a guy who is very, very serious about his craft and about being a leader for this team.
Ole Miss lets the play clock run down and will spend the first of its 3 timeouts on 3rd and 2. Third down, the one area, Kirk, tonight that the Rebels have not excelled at. Hugh Freeze mentioned it to Heather at halftime. They're just 2 of 8. If you want to look at an area they didn't excel in so far, that would be it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's an area that down the road is going to become very serious for them. And you're talking about the difference in winning a football game. Maybe tonight it didn't come back to get them, but that's an area you always want to obviously try to get a lot better than 2 of 8.
2 turnovers by Texas A&M, both of them taken back to the end zone. Cody Pruitt, a 75-yard pick 6 in the first half. That really hurt, put him in a big hole. And then right here, this fumble by Hill, untouched, he just drops the ball. Lewis alertly scoops and scores.
Yeah, two plays that Kenny Hill would love to have come back and have another chance, because turnovers have hurt them this year when they've gotten themselves into some trouble. go -2, and that was, again, that was a big emphasis this week about, hey, Mississippi State game, we had 4 interceptions. You can't lose the turnover battle. It's one of our goals in our meeting room. We want to win the turnover ratio. We want to be good in penalties on offense and defense. Another bad week in those areas for A&M.
This is Wilkins cut down. Where will they spot it? Close to the first down. He's getting a right-footed spot from the official, just short of the 35. They have 4th down on the marker. It's pretty near the yellow line, though.
No hesitation, obviously, from Ole Miss. About a half a football short of the first down.
Here comes the punt team. Speedy Noyle has had 1 good return brought back because he gave the getaway signal. Another brought back on multiple penalties tonight. Could have been a little bit different had those returns counted. Makes the fair catch this time at the 32. So the deficit is 21. About 6.5 to play. Most of the students are still here, but it's unusual in my experience at Kyle Field to see this many empty seats. I know it's late. Folks have to drive some of them a long way to get home, but it's unusual. Hill chased, sacked back at the 20-yard line.
Dave Womack told us that besides C.J. Johnson and Kim Dichie and Brown, that they can bring in a number of other guys, whether it's Brian Bennett or Marquise Haynes. How about Haynes tonight? He has gotten into that backfield. They can give you 4 or 5 SEC quality pass rushers, and the true freshman Haynes has been in that backfield a lot.
Delayed a handoff to Trey Carson. They call it the cheetah package, like some teams do. You get a bunch of those fast guys off the edge getting at the quarterback, and Haynes, one of the several true freshmen, make an impact on this defense.
When you combine Haynes to go along with the rest of those defenders up front, and then you've got about 6 or 7 defensive backs, you've got about 4 or 5 linebackers, and all the guys in the 2nd and 3rd level are experienced to go along with the speed of what they have up front. It's just a really well put together defense. It's going to be tough for a lot of teams this year to try to move the football on.
On 3rd and 17, Hill steps up, fires over the middle, catch made at the 40-yard line, but short of the first down is Reynolds, or excuse me, Seals Jones.
It's the first time we've called Cody Pruitt's name in a while, and remember, we not only called his name after the pick 6, but looked like he had a stinger and was holding his shoulder earlier in the game. So for you Ole Miss fans, he's been back out there since then.
4th down, 2. Pass far side, catch made. Noyle works free. Speedy Noyle just brought down by the shoelaces. Trey Elston got him in midfield, or he was gone.
Now that gives you an idea of what he can do, and this is what A&M wants. Instead of having to always throw it downfield 40 or 50 yards, just get it out there to a speedster and let him make a guy miss. And Elston was very, very fortunate just to get a shoestring there to pull him down.
Hill rolls, fires over the middle. Catch made as the Rebels have softened up their coverage. Seals Jones again. You look at the stats, and A&M now has a yardage edge, but so many of them yards have been a little bit on the hollow side.
Yeah, that was an outstanding adjustment by Ricky Seals Jones, breaking off of his route and getting into a position where Kenny Hill could find him.
Hill again, 1st down, takes a shot to the goal line, tipped up and intercepted by Senquez Golson. He's still running around, acting like he's going to bring it out, chewing on some clock, and he'll finally just roll down. The man who clinched the monumental win over Alabama with a late pick comes up with his 5th interception of the season.
And I don't know what Kenny Hill is thinking here at all. And again, he's a freshman, and he's going to learn from these kind of mistakes. But you have a soft corner right here, and Golson, who's just going to kind of backpedal. Watch him as he's looking at the quarterback. He's backpedaling. He's in great position. And even if the receiver doesn't slip and fall down, that's going to be, at the very least, a ball that's knocked away, more than likely intercepted. And Golson, you know, Chris, he's a great example of this defense. He's kind of symbolic of what this defense has become, because guys like Golson and Elston and Pruitt and Hilton and Cedarius Bryant, Denzel Kamdichi, Tony Connor, a lot of these guys that have been around, they've been through not just the great moments, they've been through some tough moments. And I think the peaks and valleys of this Ole Miss secondary, all that they've been through, now being kind of grizzled veterans, it allows them to play with so much more confidence and a togetherness in the way you watch them play every single Saturday so far this year.
Rebels take over here inside of 4 minutes to play. Mark Dodson, short gain. Guys like Pruitt, like Golson, Mississippi natives. There are 54 Mississippians on this Ole Miss roster. We spoke this morning, College Game Day in Starkville, about the impact of players from that state. Not all of them, in fact, most of them weren't touted prospects. Some of them came from small rural high schools, didn't have great facilities. Some of their families struggled to put 3 meals on the table. These guys arrived in college with an opportunity, hungry to improve and get better. Coaching staff has to spot guys like that and believe in them in high school.
No doubt about it. And there's a hunger and a desire from these players that when you put them on the same team together.
Boso got the ball. A flag comes out as he carries it across the 40. That's in the holding zone, that penalty marker. Aggie defense wasn't sure the quarterback still had it.
It was a design run. Field.
He's checking the board to see if he can spot the penalty. Mistakes very few.
Holding, 72 of the offense, 10-yard penalty, second down.
I would go back to what you said, because I think there is this collective desire to, not just because of the way they were raised in the state of Mississippi, many of them, but because they're Ole Miss and they're used to being the team that, oh, we're going to knock off Ole Miss, you know, that'll be an easy game. They've lived that. There are a lot of juniors and seniors that have lived that, and now that they're all of a sudden off to a good start, they beat Alabama, they're playing well tonight, there's I think a hunger and a desire because of some of those failures and those struggles they've been through earlier in their careers. They don't want to let go of this. This is new for them and they're enjoying it, and I think having enough seniors sprinkled in with some of the young players, it's a really unique combination.
This is Dodson on the carry. 3 short years ago, Mississippi veterans were a part of a 2-10 team under Ed Orgeron.
Absolutely.
And the guys who came here, those good recruiting classes, had to buy in, had to believe this kind of thing was possible when there wasn't much evidence that it was likely to happen.
I always feel that these teams that are known as kind of perennial losers, or teams that struggle in these powerhouse conferences, and all of a sudden they get a good group of seniors together, or they taste a little bit of success. Boy, there's such a kind of a bond of guys. We don't want to go back to being what we used to be. We're kind of enjoying this. So I'll be shocked if they ever let go of that rope, as you say. Same with Mississippi State. They kind of have that same vibe to them when you watch them play, led by, of course, their quarterback.
We were in Oxford. You know what a coach is going to say, hey, we've come back down to earth. We put a big win behind us. I think many of you are probably skeptical about that. How is Ole Miss going to bounce back? They were underdogs tonight. They were supposed to lose this game against A&M. Despite the big win last week, they have answered all those skeptics. This, I think, in many ways, Kirk, as Dodson gets loose, is as strong or a stronger ball grabbed by an Aggie, but I think Dodson had stepped out. Maybe a stronger statement than even the home win last week.
Absolutely. Because last week, people looked at that and thought, boy, they're at home. They played inspired.
See if Dodson does step out. They rip at the ball. His toes are on that white line.
This is validation today. This is last week was, oh my gosh, are the stars aligned right? They're at home. They rallied. Biggest win in school history. A week later, they go on the road at Kyle Field, biggest stadium, biggest crowd they've ever had in the state of Texas, and they take the game over. They're up 14-0 in the blink of an eye in the first quarter. So to me, this today validates that Ole Miss is for real, in the same way that earlier in Starkville, what Mississippi State did against Auburn really validates who they are.
On 4th down, they bring in Gary Wunderlich to punt it. They're not going to go to the rugby punt of Gleason. They want to hang it up high. They do, and Noyle makes a fair catch back at the 22. Having said that, it's dangerous, it's fickle, you got to bring it every week. But this was the euphoric scene we're talking about. This is a land grab last Friday morning. By Saturday morning, the Grove was insane. Katy Perry was even more insane coming on College Game Day. She stayed for the game. She watched them rally from 2 touchdowns behind, and then Golson makes the pick to seal it, and then pandemonium. The students eventually got the goalpost to the ground. They paraded them all over the place. Took them to the Grove, took them to the square. I mean, some of those folks are here following the team.
Again, that's what's so impressive, is to go through what you just saw. Goalposts are down. They've cut them up. They're in the bars. They're in the fraternity houses.
They sold the pieces of them.
They're everywhere. Hugh Freeze said, they brought me a piece. You know, this is great. And then a week later to do this, 35-14 on the road at Kyle Field.
2nd and 9 throw on the far side. Heather, more on the great scene in Oxford.
Well, Chris,
this weekend.
It's amazing. You're not going to believe this. Hugh Freeze told me before the game that he called it. He literally, in the locker room before the Bama game last week, told his team, these goalposts are coming down after this game. No matter what, I promise you, we're getting the win. Now they think he can tell the future.
Well, they go back home, and they'll be big favorites against Tennessee. And he knows they'll have to handle even more prosperity now. They potentially a #1 ranking, or perhaps just behind Mississippi State, Florida State when the polls come out.
Yeah, they're going to be right up there. And I think there's one other thing that I think needs to be said about Hugh Freeze and what he's doing here.
Trey Williams brought down in Rebel territory at the 46.
He brought up to you and I earlier this week the respect that he has for Nick Saban, not just his team and the winning, but the way they go about kind of their business. And they don't talk trash, and they kind of keep things kind of even keeled. He is pressing and pushing every button he can to try to get his team to realize, hey, this is uncharted waters for us, but let's not go up and down emotionally, up and down. Let's just play every week like we expect to win. And that's what they did last week. And again, that's what we've seen today. We haven't seen a lot of trash talking, a lot of just carrying on. They're just executing, and they get back out on the field and they play the next play. That if I'm an Ole Miss fan at home watching, I'm as proud of that as I am the 35-14. It's the way they're just going about this success that really blows me away.
So Bo Wallace, a 2nd consecutive turnover-free game for the quarterback. Ran for 2 touchdowns, threw for 1. Hill, if you look at the stats, having a really productive night. That's his 41st completion, 375 yards. But again, most of the yards coming after Freeze's bunch had a big lead. Aggies in the red zone with 20 seconds to play. Hill rolling and knocked out at about the 13 with 8 seconds left. Where do the Aggies go from here besides to Alabama? They're going to drop to the 2-2 in the league, very much in the back burner in the division race.
Well, I mean, I think Kenny Hill's going to have a great career ahead of him. But everybody wants to point to the quarterback. This is going to be one of those games. If I'm the coach, I'm pointing to that offensive line and the running game and the lack thereof. They've got to be able to run the football better if they want to compete with Alabama and others.
Hill scrambles around, fires into the end zone, and with triple zeros on the clock, a touchdown catch made by Sabian Holmes. Very, very small consolation for the Aggies as Hill fires a touchdown pass with no time left, and they'll kick the point, but basically academic, as the Rebels walk out of here with a very satisfying 2-touchdown victory. And that's it. They won't even kick the extra point. A 15-point margin for Freeze. They follow up the landmark home win over Alabama with a very convincing road win. Bulldogs or Rebels? Which one deserving of the #1 ranking? Pollsters will have to think about that. Wallace ran for 2, threw for 1. The defense with 2 scores as Ole Miss wins in Kyle Field. Sports Center coming up next for Kirk and Heather. I'm Chris Fowler. Thanks for joining us. So long for now from College